Habits and Health, episode 20.
Welcome to the Habits and Health podcast, where we believe creating healthy habits should be easy. Brought to you by an educator and coach for anyone who wants to create a healthier life. Here's your host, Tony Wynyard.
Welcome to another edition of the podcast where we give you ideas for habits you can create that will improve your health in some way. My guest on today's episode is Tim James, who is the founder and CEO of chemicalfreebody.com. It's a mission-based organisation that is passionate about helping people ignite their highest excitement in life and putting their health first. And Tim went through quite a transformation in his life, which we'll find out about more in this episode. If you do enjoy this episode, please do share it with anyone who you feel would get some real value from some of the information that Tim shares. Right now, time for today's episode. Welcome to Habits and Health, and my guest today is Tim James. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing really good, Tony. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And you're over on the West Coast.
Yeah, just south of Portland, Oregon. We're in a little farming community called Canby.
Okay, and have you been there long?
A little over a year. I actually grew up over in Eastern Oregon, which is kind of like Redneckville. It's kind of like Montana. My best friend was literally like a rodeo star. So between the two farms, we had cows and ducks and geese and dogs and cats. And they had horses and chickens and pigs and what else do they have? That was about it, I think. But between the two farms right next to each other, we had like tons of animals. We used to throw chickens out of the barn and they'd fly, and glide down and land, get their doing fun stuff as kids.
From what you were telling me before we started recording, so where you're living now is a little bit different to where you were then.
Yeah, Portland, Oregon, and the surrounding metro area in Vancouver, there's probably 3 million people here, so it's quite busy, quite the city. But like I said, I moved out. I'm kind of on the edge right now. So, but I got farmland all around me, but there's a big commercial building going up across the street about a quarter mile away from me. So the city's coming. It just keeps growing.
That's the whole world seems to be like that, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you go. So what is it you do, Tim?
Well, I try to wake people up to what I woke up to back in 2011, which is that our digestive tracts are polluted. I found out that the average person's got about 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material and mucoid plaque lining the small and large intestine. And if we ever really want to get good health, we got to get it out. I went through a class at the Institute, Hippocrates. I don't know if you're familiar. Are you familiar with the Hippocrates Health Institute?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're in West Palm Beach, Florida. They're like the super old detox and nutrition clinic. My buddy Charles got cancer, and he asked me to go there with him to support him. And I was like, yeah, whatever, And, here I am, the redneck meat eater, like eating chicken and fish. And, I was catching my own fish, shooting elk and deer and chuckers and pheasants and all this stuff. And then we go there and there's no meat. So I'm freaked out, like thinking I'm going to die. And, but at the time I was like 42 pounds overweight. I had eczema. I was bleeding. My gut was bleeding when I pooped. And, it wasn't fun. It was very painful to go to the bathroom. And, I had another skin issue on my shoulder. I had to have an organ removed. I was acid reflux, eating Tums and Rolaids all day long. So I'd been an athlete my whole life. So I was still thought in my mind I was an athlete, but I was literally rotting from the inside. I didn't know what it was. It was the standard American diet was killing me, and I was all plugged up. And I went there to that place with him, and the first class was called Internal Awareness, and this doctor came out, and he was trying to educate us on all this impacted garbage that's in our gut, and then he actually showed scopes going in people, like colonoscopy deals with cameras, and he'd show like a healthy, 40-year-old or whatever, right? And the inside of the colon was all pink and beautiful. And then he'd show like an unhealthy 24-year-old woman with a yeast infection and Hashimoto's or something, right? And it was like white and all kinds of yellow stuff inside the colon. It was nasty. And then they'd show a 54-year-old man with parasites and prostate cancer. And there's worms crawling around in there. And I'm like, oh, my God. And then like a 52-year-old woman with colitis and headaches or something, And it was all green and yellow and nasty in there. And then he's like, these three people eat the standard American diet. And I'm like, oh shit, that's me, you know? And he goes, this person eats like we're going to teach you here over the next few weeks at the Institute. And that woke me up because they were trying to sell us on colon hydrotherapy or colonics. You familiar with that?
Not so much now, go on.
Yeah, so for the listeners, it's you basically set on a tube rectally, and then water goes in and out of your colon for about an hour, and it cleans your colon. And he talked about this in the beginning before he showed those slides and stuff, and the video cameras. And I'm like, I elbowed Charles. I said, "Look, dude, I came here to help you, but I'm not doing that deal." And then after he showed the inside of the people and what he said about the standard American diet, I was the first one signing up. And he literally pointed at me and he said, Tim, you got 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. And if you ever want to be healthy, truly healthy, and have good health and longevity and a quality of life, you got to get it out and keep it out. So the next day I went in and got my colon hydrotherapy session. They weighed me. I did it. An hour later, they weighed me again. I dropped 10 pounds, Tony, of impacted fecal material in 1 hour session. The record at the Institute was one woman who dropped 27 pounds. So think about that. So the average person is walking around with this toxic sledge lining the intestinal tract. And it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And we don't realize that the intestinal lining is that if you laid it all out, it's the size of a surface area of a tennis court. So it's very large. So if you got a little film of garbage all over it, it adds up to about 6 to 12 pounds. And you want to get that crap out of there, literally, so that you can start absorbing nutrients properly and healing those little hair-like structures, those villi that pull our nutrients through the intestinal line and get them in the bloodstream and create that peristaltic action and move that gut action to move our stuff through us. So our colons are supposed to be a waste removal system, not a storage tank. So that's the first awareness that I like to bring to people. And we show them how to get cleaned up. We have a product called Gut Detox that does the job in 15 days, but we still highly recommend colon hydrotherapy. And then the second thing is toxic chemicals. And I tell people, don't take my word for it. About 9 years ago, I looked up umbilical cord and chemicals. So when you guys are done listening to this episode, go to your browser and type in umbilical cord and chemical, and you'll see the studies that show every time they looked for like 400 chemicals in the umbilical cord of brand new babies and young mothers, supposedly the healthiest of all of us, they found 250 of what they were looking for. So, and 180 of these cause cancer in humans, 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. And I sat back in my chair after reading these studies, and I was like, oh my God, we're all polluted. But we can't see it. It's these microscopic man-made toxins, right? And that's kind of how our company, chemicalfreebody.com, got born. Was I wanted to bring awareness to this stuff because this stuff is harming our health. It's lowering our immune system, and it's the no-see-ums. And you might be an OCD person and your kitchen's completely spotless, but 9 times out of 10, if I go put my finger on the top of your refrigerator, there's dust up there. Why is that? Because it's out of sight, it's out of mind. You can't see it, and we can't see these things because they're microscopic. But there's so much. The scientists referred to these, and the doctors referred to these as a body burden, Tony. So if we can clean up our digestive tract, and we can clean up our of all that funk and gunk and junk, and we can get these man-made toxins out of our blood and our fat and our muscle tissue, including our brain, then our immune system boosts. It goes up because it's not dealing with this toxic burden all the time. And then that's how we help people to start reclaiming their health. We start on the foundational level from the inside out.
So when you first went there, and you just mentioned about how they've shown you all these different videos, and then you've signed up for it, and then the next day you've had this colonoscopy and so on. What was the biggest difference you noticed in how you felt over the next few days?
Well, I will say this, that I had acid reflux, remember, every day. I was eating Tums and roll legs. Day one on their lifestyle, all plant-based, raw living foods, sprouts, green juices, lemon water, lime water, acid reflux was gone. Now, by Wednesday, I was going through a little bit of a detox, okay? Because I went off of like all cooked, sugars and maple bars and donuts and coffee and candy and all that kind of crap to basically eating nature. I was eating like a wild creature, right? The freshest foods that you possibly could get in these fresh juices. So when you do a radical shift like that, you create this detox. It's called like a healing crisis. So you'll get I got night sweats. I was irritable. Just didn't really want to talk to people. I had a metallic taste on my tongue as the heavy metals were exiting the body. Some people had it worse though. Some people were like literally bedridden. People had rashes breaking out all over their body as stuff was coming out. People had parasites, Tony, coming out of their pores. One lady at lunch had a parasite literally crawling out of her eye. And I was just like, holy crap. I mean, I didn't realize, but what I learned there was like 50% of us have these parasites. And it's not just the ones we can see with the naked eye, like that lady had coming on, but it's the little microscopic ones, again, the no-see-ums that you can't see. So we have these viruses and bacteria and mold and yeast and fungus and these little parasites, and they're all consuming our food and then urinating and defecating in us, basically, and creating more acid and more waste. So this lowers our immune system. So we want to be highly alkaline and highly oxygenated. Well, these creatures live in a very highly acid, low oxygen environment. So what ends up happening is they put you on this high oxygen, high alkaline diet. You change the environment, and the bad guys pack up their bags and they're leaving. That's why we would see the parasites crawling out of people from time to time. So I experienced that, and then I woke up on they said either Thursday or Friday you'll wake up and you feel like a new person. I went to bed Wednesday night like praying, please be tomorrow. I don't want to go through another day of this, because it wasn't fun, man. I was like hallucinating, like I'm going to hotwire a car and go to McDonald's, and and I hadn't even had McDonald's in like 10 years. I knew that stuff was crap, but I was still eating not good foods. And I woke up Thursday morning, and I felt like I was reborn. Like literally. Charles and I, we went and got our water, we got our wheatgrass shots, we drank our green drinks, we did our workout, we did our hot cold plunge and the saunas and all the fun stuff they had at the Institute. And we were walking back to our little hacienda. I literally had energy like tingling in my arms, my brain and my mental clarity was freaking amazing. I looked at him and I said, dude, do you feel as good as I do? And he's like, yeah. I was like, God dang it. I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I was like, I'm going to give up all meat except for bacon, and I'm going to do this deal with you, and you're going to heal yourself. And that's exactly what happened. We came back. We implemented the lifestyle. I actually gave up bacon, too, because I read the China Study, which is a very comprehensive book on nutrition for Dr. T. Colin Campbell on the way back home. I gave that up. I went completely plant-based for 8.5 years. And in a little over 2 years, Charles was completely healed of his cancer, and he did no chemo, no surgery, no radiation. So this was a friend of mine where he healed himself right in front of my face. Like there's no hocus pocus here. It's like he changed his environment. He got his attitude right. He changed the environment internally and externally around what he breathed and purified his water and all this stuff. And guess what? Started exercising. He dropped 60 pounds. He healed himself of cancer. I dropped the 42 pounds. I healed myself of my leaky gut, my rectal bleeding, my acid reflux, and all these skin issues. I got big patches of eczema all over my body. So I looked like salamander, man, and it was embarrassing and not fun. So now I'm happy to take my shirt off again at the beach and not embarrassed, and I don't have to worry about going over to your house and hanging out and bleeding on your couch because my elbows are cracking and bleeding. And it's just I was a mess, and I really owe a lot to Charles for finding that place and asking me to go with him to support him. And by him doing so, I actually completely transformed my life, and now I get to help other people do the same thing. And it's really a blessing.
I'm wondering so after you came back from that place, and how did your friends react? Because I guess you must have looked quite different.
Yeah. Well, first off, my friends back home thought, from Eastern Oregon, kind of the meatheads, they thought I had lost it. Okay, James is crazy. Like, they're making fun of me and teasing me. But what was funny was actually that year in 2011 was my 20-year high school reunion. And I'm telling you, like in January, dude, I was a mess. When I landed at the Institute, I was a mess. By June, when we had our deal, I looked exactly like I did in high school again, except, a few extra gray hairs, right? And I looked around at people, and I'd walk up to people like, hey, Tim, hey, what's going on? I'm like, hey, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I can't even tell who it is, right? Because they changed so much. They were so overweight that they were hidden. And then all of a sudden, it was like they would materialize, and I'd put it together, and I'm like, oh, Susie or Bill, or whatever. It's like, what's going on, and reconnecting. That was a lot of fun. And all the friends that were making fun of me, a lot of them came up and they were teasing me and stuff, but then they come up by themselves and say, hey, look, I know I was making fun of you, but man, you look almost exactly like you did in high school. What the hell are you doing? And there was only maybe 2 or 3 other people that looked like that. And one was, I think a couple were like triathletes and stuff like that. But knowing when I knew, they still had internal issues because I could tell by their skin tone, right? So if you're really healthy, you have beautiful skin, it'll be real nice and clear and soft and wonderful, and it'll glow. It'll have a glow to it. So how do you get that? If you make your gut glow, then your skin's going to glow. So you have to really take care of the inside, the top of the refrigerator. If you learned this one thing, that the key to all health is from the inside out, and taking care of the things you can't see and having that awareness, everything will change for you. And we see people in 6 months, man, they'll just like completely transform. Women, 6 months, you look 5 years younger. And people like that. I'm 40, I'll be 48 in June. I literally run around the mountains doing trail running. I do weight resistance training with bands. I do yoga. I do exercise, rebounders. I love getting outside. I love hiking. I can run circles around people now. Like not even close. I mean, literally, I feel like I'm 19, and I have a whole new lease on life. I don't ever want to go back to the pain and suffering I was dealing with, and it just got worse and worse every year. And I can't even believe, knowing what I know now, how I even got to where I was so such a mess. But so that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this with people. So
before you went there, what were you doing work-wise?
I was a financial advisor. Yeah. And I was 8 a.m. early meetings. I was driving clear across town. We had 3 locations. I was driving around seeing clients, day-to-day, back-to-back appointments, tons of paperwork, stress. We had an 18-person team. We were doing seminars 2 nights a week, long days, get up 5 in the morning. I wasn't even working out anymore. I used to get at 5, but I'd get up, get everything ready, walk. I did walk the dogs. That was the only thing I was still doing, simply because the dogs couldn't walk themselves. And my dad would have killed me if I didn't walk the dogs. Just in the back of my mind, the way he raised me. And I had to do it. I mean, they can't walk themselves. But, 8 a.m. meetings all day. And then you'd hustle over to a restaurant and do a seminar in front of 30, 40, 50 people and collect information, and then, do it again, and get home at like 11 o'clock at night. That was twice a week. So it was a high stress job. We were making lots of money, but I walked away from it when my little brother got killed in a mountain biking accident. That's when I said, you know what? I don't even care anymore. Like, that could have been me. I'm going to do what I love. And I remember looking up, I was like, Troy, my brother, I was like, what do you want me to do? And he said, do what you love and do it now. And I picked up my phone. I called the owner of the company. I said, hey, Jeff, I'm out. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, I'm out. I'm getting out of the financial services business. I'm going to go help people with their health. He's like, well, how are you going to make a living? I said, I have no idea, but I'm out. And I said, I'll spend the next couple months transitioning my clients to you. And you don't need to pay me any residuals on them or nothing. I want to just cut ties, and I'm going full force into the health industry. And I bought a big dry erase board, and eventually I started coaching people for free. And then a couple years later, I started charging, and then we developed a coaching company. And then eventually we brought the chemical-free body product line in, because I got very ticked off and upset about the supplement industry when I found out. So I just wanted pure nature into my body, and I got tired of doing all this research on these companies and telling my clients about it, and then finding out 6 months later they put xanthan gum in it, which is like mutated corn syrup fermented in bacteria, so that it can emulsify your shake, so you don't have to shake it more than once, because people are lazy. Or they'd be bought out by Nestle and they put synthetics in it, and they wouldn't change the label or tell you. So that was very one of the reasons why we created our supplements.
So you mentioned about how so you're working in the finance industry. After that experience with the colonoscopies and all the rest of it, and you're a changed person. You feel completely different. You look completely different. But it sounds like you continued doing the finances for a few weeks, months afterwards?
A few months, yeah. Because when you're dealing with people's their whole savings and livelihoods, and they trust you, and then then you can't just say bye. I mean, I could have. So I called them all up, and I started booking appointments with Jeff, and we just started one by one having these handoff meetings, doing reviews with them, or even if they weren't scheduled for a review, I said, we need to meet, because I'm exiting the industry, and I'm going to turn you over to my mentor. I just told him he's actually better at it than I am. And then I got those meetings done, and then I bounced.
And so when you started transitioning into, you mentioned first of all, you're coaching people for free and so on. And what were you initially, how were you like attracting people to come to you, and what kind of things were you doing with them in those early days?
Well, I already kind of set the stage, because right after I got back, a friend of mine came over and I had all these sprouts growing in the house. And he's like, what the hell is all this stuff? This looks cool. And I was like, well, this is my new sprout garden, and it's like living foods. And this is a whole nother level of health. They have hormones, oxygen, phytochemicals, and enzymes. And he's like, please explain. So I went into this whole thing and told him. And he's like, wow. And he's like, damn, dude, you look good. He's like, and I'd already at that point, I'd lost 38 pounds or something. And he's like, will you grow these for me? And I'm like, no way, man. I'm like, I just told you I was a financial advisor. I'm freaking busy. I'm like, I got to get at 4 a.m. to take care of these things, 5 a.m. And he talked me into it, so I started growing him sprouts. The next day, he brings over Tony. Tony Martinez comes over, his buddy, and he's like, tell Tony your story. So I told Tony the story, and Tony's like, hey, will you grow these sprouts for me too? And I'm like, you guys are killing me. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. Well, before too long, Tony's sending me people, John's sending me people, and all of a sudden my sprout rack doubled in size, and I'm growing for, a dozen people, and they're coming over, and I'm giving it to them, and then finally I'm like, all right, you guys need to pay me something. Just pay me $20 a tray or something just to cover my costs and my time a little bit. And then people just randomly started showing up because of my buddy's cancer story, and I was telling them about Charles. Like, the story was really about him, not me, and the word spread. So all these people with cancer started literally knocking on my door and wanting to hear more about living foods and detoxing. And it could be like Friday night, my wife and I are getting ready to go out on a date, and somebody would show up with cancer, and I would just say, hey, honey, sorry, I got to help these people. And I would teach a class, like right on the spot. So finally, people were really seriously like knocking our door down all the time. Like, I'd have 3-5 of these a week happening. Finally, I was like, okay, I got to have some structure in my life. So we started doing classes on Wednesday nights, because we were doing the financial advising stuff on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. So Wednesday nights I could teach the health classes. I said, if people want to come, they can just come on Wednesdays. So for probably 2.5 years, I would teach the classes, make people fresh juice with our sprouts, and make them a living food dinner. And I paid for it all. I had money coming in, so I wanted to help people. Didn't want to charge them anything. But then when I stopped doing it, and I stopped doing the financial advising, then I started charging $25 a head. And then we opened up Tuesday nights too, because we were getting too booked out. So I was teaching classes twice a week. And then on the weekends, I'd go to grocery stores and hospitals and churches and apartment complexes, and people's homes would get groups together, and I'd teach, or at yoga studios. And I just keep teaching these classes. And so over a 5.5-year period, I had over 5,000 people to my home. And I was really well connected in the community. So I had tons of real estate agents and mortgage brokers and insurance agents and property casualty agents and financial advisors and attorneys. And these people had, all knew of me, and they had, a lot of them had come to my classes and started getting on the juice, literally the green juice. And that's kind of how the whole thing started. So I kind of had a pretty good base going into it.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of the Habits and Health podcast, where we believe creating healthy habits should be easy. If you're looking for the fastest and most effective way to transform your energy and well-being, we invite you to join Tony for an upcoming Habits and Health workshop. This 5-week group workshop will empower you with tools to disrupt unwanted habits and make positive changes easy. You'll enjoy sounder sleep, better energy, less stress, and a happier mood. Workshops begin on the first week of every month, and you can sign up now at tonywinyard.com. Now, back to the show.
And so how is your business now? So how has it evolved from where it was then?
Well, from that point, I had to convert my garage into a sprout growing operation. So my whole garage was full of sprouts. And
actually, on the sprout thing, because I imagine there may be some people listening who aren't really sure what you're talking about when you're talking about sprouts. So can you give a bit?
Yeah, so we were growing sunflower sprouts and pea sprouts, and the reason why we're growing those two is because they're 30 times more nutritious than fresh picked vegetables. So, one handful of sunflower sprouts would be equivalent nutritionally to 30 handfuls of kale or mustard greens or potato greens, the most nutritious. And I'm talking about, you go out in your garden, you harvest kale on the spot and eat it like a wild creature. These, because they were fresh, they were alive. Once you pick something, it's dead. It dies quickly. Like the University of Berkeley in California, they took a head of lettuce and they tested its enzyme activity in the ground. Then they cut the lettuce, waited 30 minutes, and tested it again. How much do you think the enzyme activity dropped? Well, it was about 52%. So what do you think happens by the time they put it on a truck, take it to a holding barn, and then put it on another truck, and then they spray it with nitrate or whatever, and then they ship it on average 15 to 2,500 miles. Are there any enzymes there? No. Hormones? No. Oxygen? No. Phytochemicals? Not too many. There's still trace amounts of vitamins, minerals, and maybe some trace minerals. But for the most part, you lose that acronym HOPE, H-O-P-E, hormones, oxygen, phytochemicals, and enzymes. This is what you can only get from living foods. This is why sprouts are so important. This is a whole nother level of nutrition that people are missing out on because they just can't get fresh food. We are the only creatures, let me rephrase that. Every single creature on this planet, Tony, eats a 100% raw, living food diet except for us. We're the ones that commercialize it, we hybrid it, we GMO it, we spray it with pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, larvicides. We process it, we bag it, we can it, we put it in boxes, and we put flavor enhancers and things to make it not spoil. And we eat this stuff and we wonder why we're sick. It's really simple. All we have to do is go stick our nose back in nature and we start to heal. So that's why sprouts are important. We started growing sprouts for 40 to 50 cancer patients a week out of my garage. I had to go around to my neighbors and tell them that I wasn't growing marijuana. Some of them called me the grass man because we were also growing lots of wheatgrass. Wheatgrass juice is very critical and important, especially for those cancer patients. We were consuming it orally, making poultices to put on the breast or over the stomach if they had, or wherever they had cancer, colon cancer, skin cancer. They make poultices. And also rectal implants, where after an enema, we would insert 4 to 6 ounces of wheatgrass rectally because it's full of oxygen, full of these phytochemicals. And that's literally how the gal, Ann Wigmore, who started the Hippocrates Health Institute, healed herself of stage 4 colon cancer. She used lawn grass. So grass is grass. It's got chlorophyll in it and oxygen because that's a byproduct of the plant. And again, cancer is anaerobic. It can't live in an oxygenated environment. So this gal was pumping oxygen basically through wheatgrass rectally on her body and drinking it. So she was flooding her body with oxygen and phytonutrients. And that's how Ann Wigmore healed herself of stage 4 colon cancer and started the Hippocrates Health Institute back in the late 50s. So sprouts are important. So I did that. That eventually phased out, and then we started the supplement line. Now I have a green powder called Green 85 to replace the nutrition, the 85% of nutrients missing in the soil, and I have a private group coaching community, and I have other coaches now that do the private one-on-one coaching. I just stopped doing the one-on-one myself, and I'm putting all my time and energy into the group community, and then growing our supplement business around the world.
And so the supplements help people in what way?
Well, I look at them like a toolkit, right? They each have a tool and they have a purpose. And if you need a hammer and nail, then you need a hammer, right? If you need to cut a board, you need a saw. Well, if your gut's got 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in it, then you got to get that stuff out. And a lot of people will not go get colon hydrotherapy. I know, I've tried. And I'm very convincing about it. I can explain it. I can show the photos, but people are just weird about that. Some will, but a lot won't. So we found a product in India called Gut Detox. That's what we called it. And it's a 1,000-year-old ancient formula. And you just take 3 in the morning and 3 at night for 15 days. And, all that stuff comes out very gently. There's no diarrhea. So you can work, you can travel, you can do sports, and you get that garbage out of there. And then you just take 3 a day after that for maintenance, and you keep your digestive tract clean. And long term, it cleans your organ system. So Gut Detox's tool is to keep the gut and organ systems clean and balance the body. That's the job of that. The greens replaces the nutrition missing in the soil. So we need those building blocks to heal ourselves and have energy and mental clarity. We have a toxin detox product to purify the blood, fat, and muscle tissue of the heavy metals, radiation, and pollution. And then we've got probiotics to recolonize the gut. Bacteria, which is a big part of digestion, immunity, and mental health, mental clarity. We have digestive enzymes and minerals to help people rehabilitate the digestive tract as they're adding in more raw, unprocessed, uncooked foods to their diet. This is the weights or the resistance. And you need to chew your food really, really, really well and take enzymes for a period of 2 to 3 years. And we put the minerals in there because, again, minerals are farmed out of the soil, so they're taking these while they eat, and it's replacing what's missing. And then we've got an alpha energy product that's more of it helps men and women boost out and harmonize testosterone and estrogen levels. So it helps to build the natural precursors to build your own testosterone rather than have to go get shots or some crazy stuff like that. That increases athletic performance and just libido and spermogenesis, increases sperm count. And then we have a standalone weight loss product. And then we have our Turmeric 100 is our new line of liquid micronized products. That this turmeric product's literally like 185 times more anti-inflammatory and absorbable than other products because it goes right through the mucous membrane into the blood. And within 5 minutes, your entire cardiovascular system, your blood system, is being doused in these nano-sized particles of curcuminoids. So it's a pretty awesome product to reduce cellular inflammation. So nutrients can get into the cells, waste matter can get out, and the hormones can now attach to the cell and communicate properly. And if your body and your cells are communicating properly, you're going to be much happier and healthier. But a lot of people are taking it for pain and like joint pain and arthritis and bad backs, headaches. We have a lot of people, their blood pressure drops about 20, 30 points when they take it as well. It's just a wonderful product. So that that's what they are in a nutshell. Hopefully that answered the question.
And so what kind of reactions are you getting from the people that are using this stuff?
Well, we get amazing reactions. I just talked to a guy yesterday, and he said that he was like 6 months ago, he was like 227 pounds and struggling, and now he's 175 pounds, and he's doing really, really well. I'm looking at my phone here right now. I just had a message from this guy, Liam, this morning. Where's that here? He says, I appreciate you calling. Your stuff, you have great stuff. Because you saved my dad's life, and I want to get more people the knowledge you have. I name drop your company as much as I can to people. So I didn't save his dad's life. His dad made the decision to take the products and take action. So we just educate people, and then you have to do the work, though, right? So, but the products make it simple, and they're only part of our toolkit, right? And if for some reason a product didn't work for somebody, because there's a small amount of people that have allergic reactions to one ingredient and it just doesn't work for them right now, then we'll find you something else. Just call us and communicate with us. I know other good supplement companies that have maybe an alternate product. Our goal is to help people get well. And then we share like lots of health hacks, how to hack your sleep, how to hack losing weight, how to hack exercise, and just everything. We try to simplify everything so you can get the most results in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort. And then we also work on the spiritual component, which is an emerging a level of importance over here. Because at the end of the day, like I have all the hacks now that help people like turn their health, their physical body around, but that spiritual component is so important, and the emotional component is just as important. So we really also focus on those two components as well, besides the body.
Because as well as the products that you have, you also do coaching for people, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't do the one-on-one stuff anymore, but we have a community, and like today I'll go live at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. I go live. I have a topic, and then we do live Q&A. So people in the group get to ask me questions, just one after another, and I answer them rapid fire. And then once a month, second Wednesday of the month, our formulator, Dr. Scott Treadway, comes on. He's the one who's the master herbalist from Indian herbology, master herbalist in Chinese herbology, master herbalist in Western herbology. He had his own clinic for 10 years, seeing patients on a daily basis, and now he's one of the top formulators in the world. And we were lucky to get him on staff, and which is really cool. He's one of my mentors. And what's cool about him is he's in his 70s, but his skin looks like he's 35. So I like working with people that are healthy themselves and have results, because then I'll listen to you, right? I don't want to go to the blind ophthalmologist or the overweight dietitian and try to get help. It just doesn't make sense. I want to have people in my life that are actually doing the work themselves in their own life, and then then I'll listen to them if it makes sense to me. So, and then once a month we usually have a special guest on. Like last week we had Phil Wilson, on, and he is the master distributor for these saunas that are ridiculous. Like, I sold my 54. I've been selling saunas for 10 years because these things are awesome, right? The major great for detoxing, losing weight, getting into parasympathetic nervous system mode, rest and digest mode, sleeping, skin, acne. There's just so many benefits, anxiety, depression. These things are awesome. I sold my $5,400 unit. I bought this $1,900 unit. And they actually have one that's like $1,400 that's just as good, but I wanted a little bit nicer materials and stuff. He went in depth. People loved it. And, a lot of people are getting his saunas, and it's because they're affordable, but they're like 6 times better than the best wooden saunas. They've actually have a breakthrough technology, and they're pretty awesome.
And I know you have a podcast as well, don't you? Who is it that what's the sort of typical audience for your show? Who are you reaching out to?
Our audience is, people that want to hack their health, that are, sick and tired of, mainstream stuff that's not working for them. If they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're on a bunch of medications, or just overweight, not feeling good, or they're dealing with cancer, want to look younger, feel better. One guy told me, he's like, hey, I was listening to your podcast, and he told me you're running around all over the woods and stuff. He's like, I can't even walk down the road to my mailbox without sweating. He's like, and I'm 47 like you, and I got a little 6-year-old, and if I keep on this path, I won't be able to, maybe I won't even be here, but I won't be able to play with him. And as he gets older, so he goes, I got to get my, SHIT together and get healthy. Cause like, I can play with my kids, my kids are 21 and 18. And if they want to go surfing, I can do that. They want to go hiking, I can do that. They want to play, tackle football with their friends, I can do that. It's awesome. It's awesome having that freedom and having this physical body that can pretty much do anything you want it to, when you want it to do it. It can perform, and for me, what if there's an emergency situation and I have to help somebody? I have to swim over and help somebody, or I got to grab somebody out of a burning building or something like that. Like, I can do that. Right. And, when I was 37, I might have tried to do it, but I might have failed you and myself. I might not, I couldn't have ran a quarter mile to help you and then jumped in the river. If I did, I probably would have died. Now I can do that. Right. So it also is you have a confidence and a strength, and you become an example to your friends and your family and your kids of what's possible when you just get rid of all this societal BS, clean the body up, plug yourself back into nature. You'll come back like gangbusters, and that's what we just try to get across to people. It's not that hard. Okay, yeah, it's going to take some effort, but it's not that hard. Just baby step your way into it.
So, Tim, if people want to find out more about you and your, the products that you have, where's the best place to look?
We just go to our website at chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com. And again, I mentioned quite a few of our products. So if you're thinking about getting some products, I would just, on the products tab, there's a link called savings bundles. You could start off with like a jumpstart bundle, or go all in and do what I do and do the total energy and detox bundle. That's what I do on a monthly basis. Plus I take the turmeric 100 liquid drops. That's my routine. I do take a couple other supplements from a couple other companies. And then when you get to, you'll save money that way by doing the savings bundles. And then at checkout, if you guys put in Habits Health, you get a 5% discount. So just type in Habits Health at checkout, get the 5% discount. That way you get a double discount, and we have a double your money back guarantee on all of our products, because I know they work. This is naturally occurring. This is real nature. Everything's been hand-picked, sun-dried, air-dried under 110 degrees over a 1 to 2 day process. It's all wild-crafted. There's no binders, fillers, or flow agents like magnesium stearate or silicon dioxide, which is a level 3 toxin on the EPA toxin list, or dicalcium phosphate. And unfortunately, those are just a few of many that are used, but those are the ones. Check your supplements, guys. Read your labels. If you see magnesium stearate, silicon dioxide, or dicalcium phosphate, you are putting toxins into your body every day when you're taking these healthy supplements. And that's one of the things, Tony, that really frustrates me about that, is because people just like me, I didn't have any clue. I just thought that the FDA or somebody was looking out for me and these companies had to follow these guidelines. It's not the case. 92% of the supplements on the market are pure synthetic, and 8% that are whole food or food-based and herbal-based still have these toxic binders and fillers and flow agents. So you have to, it's really hard. Like, I'm good at doing it, and I have a hard time finding products that meet my standards. So it's just a high level. I know we're at the top of the pyramid, and I know it's about getting back to nature. So we don't compromise when it comes to the ingredients.
And well, just before we finish, Tim, is there do you have any books that have particularly moved you for any reason that you'd recommend to people?
Well, I read a lot of books, and the one I'm reading now, I love it because I've been buying it and sharing it with people. I just gave one away this weekend for a birthday gift. My mom, I actually was reading this to my mom 2 weeks ago, and she's like, I want that book, so I sent her one. It's called Being in Love. Being in Love, and it's by Osho, O-S-H-O. Mm-hmm. And he's a inspiring spiritual teacher. He it's actually just excerpts of him talking to people. So in bold, it'll be somebody's question during a live format, and then they just type in his answer, basically. So it's not like a book he wrote. It's just people ask him a question, he answers it. And it's been really eye-opening for me and helping me to understand more about relationship with myself, big time, and relationship with other people and how to relate. It's really powerful stuff.
Okay. And finally, Tim, do you have a quotation you like?
Well, I can snip one out of this section I was reading this morning, and it says, there are two ways to get out of boredom. Either you can have no consciousness, pretty much like an animal, then you cannot feel the repetition, or you have so much consciousness that in every repetition you can see something new. So we can, from that, for me, what I got from that was like, we can either dumb ourselves down and kind of live at a low vibrational quality and just kind of go through the motions and everything's fine. That's one way of doing it. Or you can step your consciousness way up and just like, wow, that tree is different today. Like, how many leaves have dropped and it's got new leaves, and looking at your wife or your husband the same way, your kids, and understanding that every single day they are completely new, and be fascinated by that. And that's about raising consciousness. Now, when you're living in between those two states, that's where the pain and suffering comes from, because you get bored, and then you get restlessness, and you get anxious, and you want to go do stuff. And then, unfortunately, like, our mind takes over, and we try to follow all society, and we sit there and shake our head. Yes. Oh, you're bored. I mean, you might be bored out of your mind. You can't even stand. You're trying not to yawn. This person's told you the story 55 times, and you're like smiling, but your body, your physical body, is like telling you, get the hell out of there and move, right? And we don't listen to our body. Our body is nature. Our mind is our ego. So that was a really powerful quote for me this morning to really work on that. And so today my focus is going to be really raising my consciousness and looking and seeing everything new, because it is, and everything's always changing.
Well, Tim, really appreciate your time. So thank you for coming onto the show. And I'm sure some of my listeners will be getting in touch with you.
Tony, that'd be wonderful. Dude, thank you so much for having me on. And to the listeners out there, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you got at least one thing today. I call them gold nuggets that you can go home with and, add to your life and find some results in that, find more health and more happiness.
Okay. Cheers, Tim. Next week, episode 21 with Carice Laguerre. She is a myofunctional therapist. And if you don't know what one of those is, they are experts in around the mouth and breathing and many other areas. And she's going to help us know a lot more about our airways and about the quality of life with breath and the difference it can make by just doing some very slightly different things. So we're going to find out a lot more about that next week with Carice Laguerre. Hope you enjoyed this week's show with Tim. If you do know anyone who you feel would probably get some benefit from some of the stuff that Tim shared, please do share the episode with them, and hope you have a great week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Habits and Health Podcast,
where we believe creating healthy habits should be easy. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Sign up for email updates and learn about coaching and workshop opportunities at tonywinyard.com. See you next time on the Habits and Health Podcast.